Hey H&K fans, James here with another video for you. Today I thought I would take some time from working on the workbench projects and cover a subject that was actually a recommendation for a video, and that is to discuss my recommendations for preparing yourself for a training course. Obviously, the focus here would be one of our training courses that we offer, but generally, this recommendations could apply to anything that you may be doing from a firearms training perspective. Hopefully this will be helpful to you if you're coming to one of our courses or someone else's. And without further ado, why don't you grab yourself a nice tasty beverage. Follow me right here to our impromptu workbench and we'll dive right in. So the first thing I would say that you need to have to prepare for a training course, and especially one of ours, is not weapon or equipment related. It's your mindset. You need to come with an open mindset, willing to take on new information and try new things. If you are someone who's very inflexible just in life and kind of stubborn, or you come into this training and you think, well, hey, I know it all, and I'm just here to kind of polish up some rough edges, you're definitely not going to get the most out of what you're capable of getting. And let me give you an example from my own background, kind of where I've evolved this company into it from a training perspective. I started out with my Marine Corps career, and through many years of that type of training, being presented with a very inflexible type of mindset approach to training in what I was receiving. There's an understanding that in basic level training, you go to boot camp or whatever, they're not going to spend a whole lot of time and effort trying to showcase why it's important for you to put your left foot on the deck when they say left. That makes sense. They're trying to push masses of people through, entry-level training in a very short amount of time. You don't have to focus on that. But I was very disappointed as we got into further training, even some really high-level training in some specialized opportunities, where I still got a very much, well, that's because this is what the program instruction said, Williamson, shut the hell up, or that's the way we've always done it kind of mentality. And then I started thinking, maybe these people who are teaching the training haven't really put as much thought into the why behind what you do. So I'm a big why guy. I like to explain the why behind everything we're doing. And if you can be open to trying some new things, testing some new theories, you're going to get way more out of the training. So for example, if we're just talking about stance and I come up and we work behind you and say, okay, I want you to stand like this. And as soon as we walk away to go to the next student, you go back to the way you've always done it. Well, you're not even giving it a chance. So come with an open mind. I think you will see very quickly there's a reason behind what we're doing, and that there is no my way or the highway mentality. And in fact, you'll see it kind of the opposite. We're going to show you multiple ways to get to your end goal, and understanding that everybody learns differently and everybody's coming with their different amounts of experience. Our ability to work with one individual one way and another individual another way and still get you to your goal, that's what we're after. And kind of along that mindset, I want you to come willing to make mistakes. All too often I see people when we're at training courses, even the ones that I'll attend myself, where there's very much a zero defect mentality. Everybody wants to do as perfect as possible. Everybody's afraid to shoot outside the black. And what happens is you just stay within your comfort zone. And as we know, there's no growth in your comfort zone. So we want you to understand that when you come to our training course, when you go to somebody else's training course, this is a safe place. We have put parameters in to make sure that the drills that we teach are safe. And we want you to kind of get comfortable with what we're doing. That's why we're going to have multiple reps of a given drill. But then once you're comfortable and you've proven that you can complete the task, then we want you to push yourself and push yourself up to a failure point. Obviously, we got to be safe, and we will be, but we want to see you kind of push until the wheels come off, and then we can dial it back in and figure out, why did they come off? Okay, well, let's go fix that issue and then move on again. So if you can come with those kind of mindset things, being open to new information and willing to push yourself to the point where you're making some mistakes, you're shooting outside the black. That's where we want to be. Now let's talk about the different types of courses. We can offer very adaptive programs of instruction, but by far our most popular courses are our handgun and our subgun courses. So let's talk about handgun. The first thing I would suggest is that you bring a quality firearm. The guys who are watching my channel will understand that I'm definitely going to be talking about H&K firearms. But I also would expect that the people who know me and come to my channel realize that it's not just me being a fanboy and just shilling out for H&K. The reason why I promote these firearms and built a business around supporting them is because I found them to be the absolute best from design, function, reliability, durability. There's just nothing else out there that competes with that. And I'm not going to throw any other companies under the bus here, but you get what you pay for. And when we have failures of firearms in our training courses, it's not the H&K weapons. It's those other ones that you need to be worried about. So I know everybody's got, you got what you got. And there's reasons why you have the weapon you have. But if you're looking to purchase a new weapon, I'm always going to recommend an H&K. Whatever you bring, make sure that you're comfortable with it. You know how it operates. You're comfortable pulling out of a holster and running some drills with it. It's not the first time that you just pulled this gun out of a box and you don't understand where the magazine release is and the slide release is and that. And make sure it's reliable. With that said, if you have the ability to bring more than one, 2 is 1, 1 is none, old mantra applies here. If something did happen to your firearm, you want to be able to go back to your range bag, grab another one out, and continue training, not be sitting on the sidelines because your firearm is no longer functioning. So once we move on from the firearm itself, the next thing I would recommend, whether or not you're attending our advanced courses or our basic courses, the advanced courses include night training, low light and no light conditions. I highly recommend that you have tritium sights on your pistol. You get sights now that are white dot or blacked out. You've got fiber optic options. You've got luminous paint options where it holds a glow for a certain amount of time and then it doesn't anymore. Tritium is the only thing that's going to glow consistently. And that's the only way you're going to be able to see your iron sights on your pistol when there's no light out. I'm sure I'm going to get people who will try and argue otherwise, and I will tell you then you need to come to one of our training courses because we watch it every time with the people who don't show up with tritium sights, and we start doing our handheld lighting techniques. It is an eye-opening experience. So highly recommend you have tritium sights on your pistol. The next thing that we get, just like we saw it with long guns, red dot optics mounted on your pistols are becoming more and more the standard when you come to training courses. That is a benefit. It is not as a requirement to what we want to have. I would much rather, if you were looking at overall budget related concerns about, hey, James, I got to pay for the course fee itself. I've got to, travel and lodging, and I got to buy ammo, and then I've got all this other associated stuff I've got to do. I just don't have an unlimited budget. If that's the case, I would tell you to bypass the red dot optic and just come and learn how to shoot a pistol very, very well and efficiently. Do that with iron sights, and then you can add a red dot and your skills will continue going on. All too often, though, we see people who show up with all the whiz-bang stuff on their guns, but they don't know how to shoot properly, and so that isn't really benefiting them as much. But if you do want to have a red dot optic, just like my comments on the choice of your firearm, you get what you pay for. There's lots of different options out there. My experience, though, is when you go to the higher level options, you have less of a concern. You buy something that is bargain based, you're more likely going to have challenges with it. With that choice, you need to make sure that you have your mounting plate is correct, that you have the right size and length screws. We're seeing a lot of these custom shop type things where people are milling slides, at some buddy's company, maybe in their garage or whatever, and they're custom making screws to mount in these plates. And because this wasn't done by factory and they've got different distances, sometimes those screws aren't long enough and they don't have enough thread contact with the actual slide to hold it on there. Or guys are forgetting to put Loctite on those screws and hold them in. So we're having issues where optics are just coming off of the weapons for those failure points. So make sure you take a look at all of those concerns. Make sure you put a new battery in your optic before you come out. You know, we're running guys hard for 2 or 3 days in a row straight, easily 10 training hours per day. That's a lot of use on your batteries. So make sure you put a new one in before you come and bring one in your bag. And then the last thing I would say on the red dot optic piece is in that overall reliability. Unlike larger type red dots, you know, you have more real estate if you're looking at something for a long gun than you do for something with a pistol. So it still has to perform all the same tasks, but now has to do it in a very small package. And that is a problem. We're seeing more failures on the handgun red dots than we are on the larger ones. Think about the recoil impulse, the slide going back and forth. You need to be able to expect it to fail. That's why we buy a better quality one. But that is also why I recommend on your handguns, if you are going to run a red dot optic, that you have a set of sights that allow you to see through the glass. It doesn't have to be co-witnessed with your red dot, but you should be able to pick up your iron sights. You can see here on this VP9 match, I've got a suppressor height sight set up so I can see through the bottom of the glass on this. Why? Because if my optic fails, if the battery dies, if the lens cracks, if I've got moisture or lint or dirt or raindrops on here and I can't see that red dot, or the problem a lot of us have, trying to find the red dot as we're presenting out, all I got to do is drop down to my iron sights and they are there. Highly recommended. If you don't have that, you're just simply point shooting. The other thing I highly recommend, and I'm sure I'll get flack from this from the guys who haven't done this type of training, is I have a tritium insert on the front of my sight. Some people I've heard say, well, they wouldn't do that because they're afraid that it's going to take away from and distracting from the red dot. I've never found that to be. The red dot is very visible. It easily catches my attention, but the tritium allows me to pick my sights up if, again, the red dot fails or I can't find that dot. The number of times I've been training and I'm trying to work on finding that dot, I can't find it, and then I spend some more time, okay, there it is. If instead, as I present out, and I'm using the same presentation I've used for freaking decades and works my iron sights, all I have to do is look at my iron sights and those will be there. And amazingly, that's when the red dot pops into play. So taller sights, tritium front sight, highly recommended. So those are your sights and your optics. Now let's talk about lighting. If you're going to come to one of our advanced courses for handgun, I will recommend that your handheld light is the requirement. Whether you're coming to that course or from an everyday carry type environment, you need to have the handheld light and you need to be really confident with its use. And that's what's great about our training courses is we don't just gloss over handheld lighting techniques, just kind of talk to it really quick, maybe run, drill, and then go, yeah, you never do that. Let's get on to weapon mounted lights. Those who understand low light training and understand the 5 uses for white light will understand how absolutely critical having a handheld light is, especially from a civilian standpoint. If I'm on SEAL Team 6 and I can point my gun pretty much wherever I want and turn my light on, no problem. But if I'm a civilian and drawing my pistol from my holster to engage my light in one of those 5 uses of white light is brandishing a weapon, and I'm either going to get arrested and or shot in the process. I don't want to do that. I need a handheld light to do those uses of white light that don't require me pointing a firearm at somebody. So handheld light, what do I recommend? Well, first of all, lots of options out there. Just like everything else, you get what you pay for. Get yourself a quality light, put some money into it. My recommendation is that your light should be no bigger than it needs to be in order to accomplish the task at hand. So if I've got a really big light, like this light is bigger than this light, they both accomplish the same task. This one's bigger. Well, guess what? If it's bigger, if it's heavier, then it becomes cumbersome, and then I just don't carry it every day. I want to have something that is small enough in size that can do all the things I need to do, but doesn't become cumbersome. This example right here is the Def Light. It's from Surefire, Haley Strategic. You can get on Haley Strategic's website. Love this light. Been using it for years, since back when I was with Haley Strategic. What it gives you is the ability to, again, have a very compact light that's dedicated for everyday carry. It's not a utility light, and I'll get into that in a minute. It's meant to be able to use this for the 5 uses of white light and engage into firing. What I like about it, besides its size and its power and projection capability, is its simplicity. It's got a belt clip, but I don't use the belt clip, and I'll explain that in a minute. And it's got a combat ring. You'll see this large ring around the body. In the older days, you would see, here's another one from Surefire. These were made out of rubber, but what we've seen over time is that will degrade and kind of fall apart. Instead, if you make it out of the same material that the body is made out of, it doesn't degrade. What this allows me to do is to hold the light in a cigar hole between my pointer finger and my middle finger here, and then I can take the activation pad, push it up against the pad of my hand, and not only can I do all of my searching techniques I may want to do, but now I have a modified 2-hand grip for the Surefire Rogers technique, which is the most effective handheld lighting technique to engage with a threat. Works really, really well. The other thing I'll recommend with your light is that you have a momentary only type activation pad. There's lots of lights out there that are being sold where you push it once and it's low power, push it twice and it's high power, push it 3 times and it's strobe. I don't want that rotating type switch capability. I want to be able to turn the light on and have the power authority I need to have the light on, and then releasing it, the light off each time. Not a constant on, not some rotating type switch. This one has the ability, if I turn the back of the knob, it'll turn constant on. So if I had it and I have to change a tire, I can put it in my mouth and do whatever I need to with it. But as an EDC type thing of just having the light come on when I want it and off when I don't, I like the momentary only type switch. So that's an example of it. Another example that I would recommend, similar type light. This one here is from Mod Light. You have the ability to purchase as an accessory item this thing that's called a switchback. You can see it's got a little clip here on the side, and it's got a big thumb hole on these. They make these for different sizes so that they will fit with all different size lights. You just usually screw up the rear end cap, slide that on, close the end cap, and now you have this. Well, a couple of good things. A, it allows a clip if that's what you want and your light doesn't have that already. And then it allows a similar functionality as the combat ring. Instead of me using my pointer finger and middle finger to hold it like a cigar and pull it back in the midi portion of my palm to engage the light, now instead I can hold it this way, like an ice pick technique to do my other lighting techniques, okay? And I've got the ability with my finger through that loop that if I had to then drop and maybe clear a malfunction or reload my pistol, I can let it hang here on my hand. I don't have to, like I might with this one, shove it in my mouth, put it in my pocket, or stow it some other place so I can get both hands on a weapon. But it also allows you to then flip it forward, and now using your thumb to push down on this and your middle finger along the momentary activation pad, I can then again use a modified 2-hand grip for Surefire Rogers technique to engage this. So the ability to flip back and forth with some practice in these techniques is pretty cool. So one of these 2 options, either adding a switchback to the light you already have or getting a combat ring style light like the Def Light, highly recommend. Now, this is just kind of a pet peeve, and I'll throw this out there. You guys have probably seen this, the guys who do carry lights. What do we see all the time when they do? Well, they clip this on the inside pocket of their jeans or their tactical pants or whatever, and we see this loop, this switchback sticking out right there. To me, as a trainer, someone who has experience, that is a target indicator. I immediately can see that, and I'm shaping you up. I'm saying, well, if he's got one of these, well, then he's probably got a knife and he's probably got a handgun. So if I'm a bad guy, you've already become the first target in my selection of who I'm going to kill first in this bad guy situation. I don't like to have target indicators. I don't like that. So the next thing I'll recommend, whether you have one of those with a switchback or what you can see I do, this is part of my EDC carrier rig, I have a little magazine pouch. Okay, clips onto my belt, holds this right here. It sits in the same place every single day, whether I'm carrying a pistol for EDC or I'm out on a training range. Right next to it is my pistol mag. I have it where I need to be. And then what it allows me to do is very rapidly, just as rapidly as drawing my pistol or drawing another mag, I can reach up, engage, and then when I have to stow this away, I literally shove it back in a pouch just like I would my holster or my magazine pouch. I'm not trying to fit it into the pocket of my skinny jeans. I'm not diving into a deep pocket amongst my car keys and pocket change. It's right where I need it. Highly recommend you get something like that. So hopefully that covers the handheld light techniques. I'm not going to go into really in-depth recommendations on, the power, the candela, the throw, all that stuff. That's the subject for another video, but I would basically just kind of glance over it in a subject to say that there's lots of lights out there and they all have different capabilities. You can go to Surefire's website specifically and see just a wide array of lights, and you're probably going, oh shit, James, which one should I choose? There's different functions, the power, the candela, the throw, all those things are going to relate to the capability of that light. And what you need to think about is what your use for that light's going to be. If, like my EDC light or your home defense light, you're expecting that you're going to need to use this within those ranges of 1 to maybe 15, 25 yards max, you don't need something that's going to melt your eyebrows off, okay? Especially if you're thinking about the environments, agreeable gray walls and clamshell white and all kinds of framed pictures and mirrors inside your house. You turn on a really, really bright light, it's going to backlight you. It's actually going to have a negative effect on what you're trying to do. But the flip side is, if I instead I work on a ranch, or maybe I'm border patrol or some fish and game wildlife officer, and I'm out in some wide open distances, well, then maybe something that can punch through and go greater distances is what I want for my handheld light. You just need to think about that when you're selecting it. Okay, now let's talk about weapon mounted lights. Again, this is the challenge. I always see the guys who have their Instagram picture, their EDC, next to their bed on their night table. And what do I see? I see the weapon mounted light, but I don't see the handheld light. That lets me know that you don't understand all the uses for white light, and you definitely want to come to our training. I'm not saying you don't need one of these, okay? These are definitely a huge benefit. They're going to be faster, more efficient. You're going to be more effective with that than trying to use a handheld lighting technique. Why? Because you've got both hands on the gun, and all I've got to do is press a button. I don't have to adjust things in my support hand. But they are not the primary concern. This is the necessity. This is the nice to have. Just like everything else I mentioned, high quality is what you want. If you buy the cheap plastic ones, these ones that are made overseas and out of Chinese pot metal or whatever, you're going to see more failure points. And often the failure points are on the switches. When we get excited, oh shit, he's got a gun, or the bill drill comes out, we over torque these things, and that's when you'll see a lot of those lights fail. With the handheld and weapon mounted lights, you also want to look at, do they use standard batteries or do they use rechargeable batteries? If they use rechargeable, is it one that I can take the battery out, put another rechargeable one in, or does it also allow me to drop in standard batteries? Or is it one of those ones where I've got to go get the USB cable and plug it in? If that's the case, how are you going to be able to do that when you're out on the range away from your laptop or whatever else? Quality ones. Needs to be combat hardened, needs to have the amount of capability, power, throw, candela that you want for your given task. Needs to mount on securely onto your light. I think we've covered that enough. Buy a quality one. Okay, so that covers the pistols and the lights. Now let's talk about mag pouches. We've got examples here. This is just a simple Kydex mag pouch. Holds one of my magazines. It's designed for a specific magazine. You'll see some universal type Kydex mag pouches where they'll have one or more screws that allow you to make minor adjustments to fit one size double stack mag to another. You may find that works for you. You may find it doesn't. I've always found that having one that specifically fit to your pistol is good. There's other expanding ones like G-Code Scorpion series, which I think is much easier for you to use multiple things than a Kydex one. But get yourself a good solid mag pouch. You're going to want to have at least 3 magazines for your weapon, and the ability to maintain at least 2 on your body for our training courses. There's never going to be a drill that's going to need more than that. You can always go reload, but if you've got that, you're going to be good to go. Holster, okay? A good quality holster. This one's just, again, a simple pancake style over the waistband Kydex model. Your choice on how you carry. You may show up to a class where you got a big battle belt and some open carry tactical rig. You may be carrying outside the waistband, inside the waistband, 3 o'clock. You may have an appendix carry. Whatever you choose, make sure it works well with your pistol. You've tried it before. You're confident in drawing and reholstering without causing some real problems with it. Highly recommend that. Okay. Now let's talk about belts. This is another thing I see. People showing up with the same casual wear belt that they wear to the office, or they've gone way too extreme and they're wearing a battle belt when what they're really trying to do is learn how to be better EDC. The quality of the belt matters. It needs to be strong, durable. You know, this is an example. This is one I've had for probably a decade now. It's the instructor belt from Crossbreed. As you can see, it's leather. And how can I tell that it's a good, tight, durable belt? You just hang it out in front of you. If it holds itself up, then it's good. If I hold it out and it just droops like this, well, then it's not strong enough in order to allow you to draw your pistol from the holster and put it back in without buckling and binding over. So something like this. The other thing to think about why I like this is it's got Velcro. You know, I see all kinds of these big metal buckles and clips and things like that. That's just one more thing that I'm going to bang into or scratch my weapon or lean up against my car to get something to scratch shit out of my car. This is easily adjustable to either pull it in or out just by adjusting the Velcro. So I like that. Look at the size of your belt and the size of your holster. If you have a leather holster, you're probably stuck with what you got, but most of the new styles, they'll have these removable belt loops, and you can order different types and different sizes, and it's usually in a drop-down menu. So my example is if you bought a holster that has a 2-inch opening on here, but then you're wearing a belt that's 1.25 inches, well, that means that every time you draw or reholster, your holster is being tugged up and down out of position on your belt. So try and match those two things, 1.5 inch belt with 1.5 inch belt loop. You'll have yourself a better day. One more thing I forgot. Let me talk to you one more thing about weapon mounted lights. And this is more of a pet peeve to me. Okay, this is a VP9. It's a full-size gun, or considered a duty-size weapon. If I then went and put what's pretty much been the industry standard weapon mounted light, the X300, on the end of my pistol. Okay, look what I've now created. I've got a very capable light on a very capable pistol, but now I've got about 2 inches of extra real estate where this is sticking off the front. So if instead, my focus was carrying a compact pistol. I asked somebody, hey, why do you pick a Glock 17 over a Glock 19? They're going to say, oh, I wanted it to be a more compact pistol because I'm carrying this every day. But then you put a light that sticks out 2 inches in front of your weapon, well, then it's not compact anymore, is it? And I would tell you that you either need to get a more compact light that still gives you the capability, or, why don't I extend my pistol size so now I can take advantage of that extra length that the light has given me. A longer barrel for more potential accuracy and velocity, longer sight radius for more potential accuracy, more capable recoil reduction system so I can get rapid follow-on shots. So instead, here's an example, same light, but now it's on a VP9 match, and you can see I'm taking advantage of all those things. Now I've leveled all that off again. So is this going to be my EDC? No, but I'm now maxing all that out. And the other example from an EDC standpoint, you can see now I have a VP9 SK, their subcompact line of pistols. So I'm getting an overall smaller package of a pistol that's more compact than a full-size VP9. And I'm still getting all the things I want to be able to do. I've got my red dot, I've got my taller sights with tritium, and I've got a capable white light from Surefire on here that does not add anything to the length of the pistol, taking away from the compact size. So again, just a mindset thought point on your choice of weapon and weapon mounted light. Now let's transition to our long guns. And in this case, I'll talk about MP5s because most of the guys that are going to be watching this video are the ones that I'm sending this video to in preparation for one of our MP5 courses. Again, just like before, same kind of trend comment here. You get what you pay for. So if you're looking for high quality, the best, MP5 variant out there that you just are not going to have concerns with, I would tell you then buy an H&K. H&K currently offers the SP5 and the SP5K, so it's a no-brainer. You can order that from your gun shop. You can go online and pick one up on Gunbroker or wherever. You are going to have the least amount of problems as possible with that weapon. Once you get into the clones, whether they are a parts kit build that you made in your own garage or somebody else made in some questionable shop, or a high quality clone, some of the other companies, there's a wide range of those things. If you're looking for a clone, you want to do something other than H&K, Dakota Tactical, highly recommended. Joe does H&K builds where he can convert your SP5 or HK94, SP89, whatever that is, to make it look like a real MP5 and function that way. And he's also got his own builds that he's, through years of experience, has figured out what non-H&K parts that are out there really work and what doesn't. He can build you a great one. Mike at TSC Machine, he only works on H&K stuff, but he's a freaking artist. There are a few companies that are like that. Unfortunately, there's a lot more that are not. And some of the production companies out there that we have that are available do not have great quality control. They are reverse engineering things. So even though they may say that, that it's, H&K original stuff like that, there's enough differences inside from fit and finish in different parts that may not transfer over to the H&K stuff. That can become challenging. Some of those guns run great. Some of them don't. You get what you pay for. And if we have a problem in our training course, again, from my experience, it's always those lower quality clones that are causing the problem. So again, I'm kind of belaboring the subject, but if you can, buy yourself a higher quality gun, you'll be in there. Now let's talk about the sights. You can see on all my guns, I put tritium front sight posts in here. They're available from Meprolite and Trijicon. Some of those sights you'll see sometimes will have a 3-dot sight system where there's not just the front sight, but then there'll be 2 more dots that mount on the rear. I do not recommend putting the rear in place. And in fact, you can order the front sight as either a complete 3-piece set or you can get it just the front sight. I'd recommend doing the front sight only. Initially you might think, well, I got 3-dot sights on my handgun. Why wouldn't I put those on my subgun? The point is because your handgun's out here, your subgun, those dots are going to be right here in front of your face, and they're actually going to negatively affect your eyesight instead of helping your eyesight. So just the front sight. The reason why is if you're using your iron sights and it's in a low light, no light condition, that's the only way you're going to be able to see your front sight. Now let's talk about optics. Again, the optic is a great benefit. I'm not knocking anything against it. Am I going to be faster and more efficient, especially at greater distances with an optic over iron sights? Certainly. But if I'm, again, looking at overall cost and coming to a training course and buying, spending another $1,000 on an Aimpoint T2 and the mounts and everything is going to push me outside my ability to come to the training, I would say don't worry about that. Unlike a lot of firearms these days where the sights are an afterthought or they don't even make them at the factory, you get whatever gun and then in a little Ziploc bag is a set of Magpul flip-ups. The roller delayed, iconic rear diopter drum fixed hooded front sight posts on the MP5 series are excellent sights. They work incredibly well, especially in the distances you're gonna have to engage. So you can be very, very effective with this without needing a red dot. But if you get a red dot, again, buy a quality one. Think about how you're gonna mount it on here. I've got a B&T low mount. I've got a ScholarWorks riser. I like the ScholarWorks because it allows me to see through to allow me to run my iron sights. So if I'm running this and as I get ready to do a demo, I forget to flip the front cap open or I forget to have it either on or on the right brightness level, or for whatever reason it fails me, all I have to do is just drop down back to my iron sights again and I can do that. If you have a different mount that doesn't allow you, you're kind of stuck with that. So there's your lights, your optics. Now let's talk about lights. Again, depending on your platform, whether you're shooting an MP5, an MP5 SD, MP5K type weapon, you may have to work with different options. In my opinion, my all-time favorite, not just because I'm a traditionalist and I like that iconic cool look, is the Surefire lighted forearm. You can see this is one of the more updated models. It's got their latest head units on here. What I like about this is it literally just takes one push pin that holds the standard handguard in place, and you can mount this right on. It's done in seconds. I don't have to have any special tools. I don't have to take all this stuff apart on my gun. It's literally that simple. And then I like it because it has a momentary only pressure pad. There's not all these rotating types of switches. I don't have some switch that's come unglued from the top of this position or whatever. It's right here, and this is naturally where I hold my hand anyway. So I don't have to, change my hand position over to here at night to activate this when I normally run my weapon during the day. I literally just push it right there the whole time. So really like that. Momentary on. The newest ones also have a constant on and off. So if you really needed to leave the light on, you have that switch there. So great option. If you have an MP5 style gun, this is one I would recommend for simplicity. The only reason I would not recommend this on that is if you were trying to mount a suppressor. Unless you had a very narrow diameter suppressor, you're not going to have enough clearance space for there. If that was the case, well, then you're going to need to get some kind of railed handguard, Picatinny, M-lock, or something like that. That will then allow you to add more things to it, and you can mount your light wherever you want to. I would not recommend mounting your light here on the left side because it'll get in the way of the charging handle. You're probably going to want to mount it off on the right side and then have an activation pad for that. If you have a K, here's an example of that. You can see this is my K, standard broom handle grip. And on this side, there's a little Picatinny adapter section that fits over what normally would be the push pin. I got that from hkparts.net. It allows me to mount my Surefire on there. And again, the same grip position. This is how I normally hold the weapon when I'm firing. Now all I have to do is put my thumb right here on the momentary activation pad. I'm not having to change weird positions, when I go from day to night. Hopefully that makes sense. So find a lighting setup that works for you, that's reliable, that doesn't interfere with the operation of the weapon, and is consistent hand placement both day and night. On to suppressors, you can see I got a suppressor mounted here. Again, that's all the rage. Guys love to have them on in the courses. They look cool, they sound cool, but remember, you're going to be here training with us for 2, maybe 3 days. That's a lot of shooting. Those things are going to get really, really hot, and you got a good propensity to burn your leg when you're standing around in between the drills and things like that. So what may be really cool for the first 2 or 3 drills in the day, all of a sudden starts becoming a little bit of a pain in the ass. The other thing to think about is when you run a suppressor, you are putting a hell of a lot more blowback of carbon into the weapon. So the weapon's going to get much dirtier, much faster than it would if you're not running the suppressor. That means you're actually going to have to take the time to take your weapon apart and clean it more often. If you think you're going to be able to run full 2 days, 3 days without cleaning your weapon and run a suppressor the whole time, you're probably going to start having some sluggish operation of the weapon later on. So there's your suppressor. Now let's talk about slings. Slings are another concern. You got lots of options with your MP5s. If you have the old school setup, maybe you got a parts kit and it came with that, or a stock you bought with the weapon, you have that old green tactical sling that H&K made. Amazingly, unlike everything else from that time period that people have kind of moved on from, it is still a very usable and a good option for a sling for the MP5, and it'll work with all of your setups. So if you don't have anything else, you got one of those, that's good. But it's a 2-point setup, and some people find frustrations when we get into reloads and malfunctions of having to come up here and back if the sling's hanging off there, and now I got to figure out, am I going underneath it or over the top of the sling? For those people who get some kind of frustrations with that, then you might want to look at a single point sling. Okay, I'm a big fan of the Magpul MS3 sling. It has either, you can get it with a clip type mount like this, or you can get one that's got a QD attachment. QD attachment, if that's what your stock setup has, then that might work well for you. What I like about this style is it has a rapid adjustment buckle. So when it's on my body, I can make it very tight up against my body, prevent the weapon from moving around. Or I can just loosen this up, and now I've got more range. Single point allows me to maneuver what is already a very compact and maneuverable weapon very easily, and it can detach. And if I then have a place to clip this on the front, like I would here, I can then very rapidly turn it into a 2-point and then back to a single point if I want to. So I'm a big fan of this sling. There's others out there, but I found this one works the best. And then the last thing I'll talk about here on the weapons setup themselves is the stock, okay? There's guys out there that have all kinds of questions about braces, and I'll tell you straightforward, I think braces are stupid. I think they were stupid from the very start. I understand why they exist, because we have a NFA process that is also stupid. But if you want to get the most out of your MP5 series, I highly recommend a stock. Probably the most inexpensive to find is the original A2 stock from H&K. You can see here it is solid, it is sturdy, it provides a great cheek weld, it's everything you need. There's just no length of pull adjustment if that's a concern, and it takes away from the compactness of the gun, which isn't a concern when you're firing. It's more of a transport storage type thing. Really easy to use. The original ones have the sling mounting point here on the left, so that's where your sling will be attached. The newer style F stocks will have sling points on both sides. You can either run your sling around the back of your stock, or if you're a lefty, that might work for you. Next on the line, again, iconic, cool. You've got the A3 telescoping stock. The original ones were just all the way closed or open. The newer F style, you'll see multiple positions for length of pull. The cool thing about these is they are high CDI factor, chicks dig it factor. They look cool. They've got that kind of SAS storming the embassy or Navy SEAL look to them. The downside is they're a little bit heavier because they're all metal. They're very expensive, and they don't provide the greatest cheek weld. So kind of got to depend on that. Some newer options from B&T are their side folding options. You can see here, this is one on a K. They make two different types. This one's a little shorter and it's got a polymer back end. They make one that's slightly longer and has a rubber butt pad. It matches the G36 style stock. These are great because they give you the best of both worlds of the A2 and the A3. I've got the good solid cheek weld, but it also folds off the side for compactness when I'm transporting storage. And these are cheaper than the ones from H&K. So this one, obviously, you can see is mounted on my K. They make the same exact two sets of stocks for the standard MP5, so you can get either one of those. And then the other one I'll recommend, here you can see an original SP5K, and this is another B&T. This is their version of the A3 stock. You can see it extends straight out, and it's got multiple positions that I can lock it in for length of pull. Again, great for compactness, great for rapid deployment, not great for cheek weld. So those are a couple of stock options. And then if you're trying to figure out how do I get my sling to mount to my stock, if it doesn't work right, it's called U-loops. These are from Blue Force Gear. These are great. You can run your sling through that, and then you can run the little eyelet, the loop that's mounted to your stock or the front of your receiver through there. These are great pieces of gear. And then the last thing I'll say on magazines, if you're running MP5s, the H&K dual mag clamp is a great thing to have, at least one of, when you come to the training courses, because not only we get to run drills, running individual mags, but then you can get an appreciation for how awesome it is to have 60 rounds on your gun and do a very rapid reload drill versus having to come from a mag pouch. So I know that was a lot. And of me explaining my recommendations on how to prepare yourself for one of our training courses, but I hope you guys found that helpful. If you have anything that I didn't cover, you got additional questions, you can go into the comment section and hit me up there, or you can send me an email directly through the website, and I will be happy to answer them. As always, I am humbled to share my knowledge and experience with you. If you're in need of H&K service and support or unique training opportunities, give me a shout. That's what I'm here for. Thanks, guys.